Hey guys, my name is Jonas, and my thesis is called Simply Hunt, and it is an online New York City rental portal. And if you want a sneak peek, you can go to simplyhunt.com. And I have a disclaimer. Before we begin, I want to mention this, and that is that not all brokers are bad. I am sure that there are a lot of great, honest, hard-working brokers out there who are worth every penny they're being paid. The brokers described in this thesis does not fall into that category. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about brokers today, and I'm going to be talking about the current problem New York City renters face. I'm going to do a demo of my website, and I'm going to be talking about the tool I created that collects the available apartments. But first, there are 9 million people in New York City, and 6.5 million of them are renting. That's 7 out of 10. Brokers have been around for over 60 years, and even today in this age of information, they still pretty much control the market. And during my research, I interviewed more than 20 people about the New York City broker experience. A few were good, most were terrible. I've heard stories about bait and switch, lies, fraud, deceit, bullying, threats, the works. And all these terror stories, they inspired my thesis question, which is, can we avoid dealing with these brokers? To answer this question, we need to take a look at exactly what it is they do. So what does the brokers do? The brokers perform 3 services. 1, they help you find an apartment, available apartments. 2, they help you set up an appointment with the landlords to see the place. And 3, they help you get your application approved. And those 3 steps are the 3 steps you have to go through whether or not you use a broker, and it is the 3 steps that has made the New York City rental market one of the most complex in the world. If we don't want to use a broker, we can embark on the online hunt. The problem, as you see, is that all of the online apartment search sites, they provide listings of available apartments, but they fail to help you with the remaining 2 steps, equally important 2 steps. Furthermore, the listings on 80% of these sites are generated by brokers, and this means you get a lot of inaccuracies and untruths in the data. The brokers essentially contaminate the data. And so it is inspired by these insights that Simply Hunt is designed to automate and offer this 3 services that the brokers provide, but in a renter-centric and intuitive way. And so for the past 9 weeks, I've been working on creating the first steps towards renting an apartment, which is the search. And I've had 2 main challenges. The first one was to create a scalable big data tool that is capable every day of gather available apartments from hundreds of property managers. Second challenge was to create the best possible tools for the user to actually navigate this huge amount of data. And let's take a look at the prototype. Does it look right on the screen? Oh. The resolution is not right. Is there anybody who knows how to? Can you fix that? The rest. What green button? Oh, there.
Yeah, just resize it.
Wow. Like that. Oh, that's better. It needs to be. Okay. So first of all, you need to know that what you see is what you get. The apartments on the site are real apartments. At the moment, my big data tool is collecting about 2,000 apartments each day from over 70 property managers. Let's take a look at how it works. Okay. So let's say you're looking for a 1-bedroom in Chelsea, and you want to pay from like $100 to whatever, $3,000. As expected, you get a set of apartments, a bulk of apartments in Chelsea at a given price. And remember, the goal here is to create the best possible tools for the user to navigate all this data. Over time, there's going to be thousands and thousands of apartments. What you see here is the first step towards that. This is the search. The search has been designed for you to explore. You need to learn what are the neighborhoods called, where they're located, how are they defined. And it is designed, the search is also designed for you to learn what are the parameters you're looking for, exactly what kind of apartment are you looking for. If we click on an apartment, as expected, you get the conventional data such as bedrooms and rent and so forth. But more importantly, you also get environmental data. This is the dirty laundry of the apartment, so to speak. This is the data that no broker is going to tell you. Partly because if they tell you, you might not want the apartment, but also because it's data that it's available, it's 3-in-1 data, but it's hard to find unless you're a real pro. Some of the data that this can be showing is like noise complaints, building violations, bedbugs complaints. It is on the block, it's like construction plans, and in the area, it's safety for bikers and pedestrians and like criminal incidents and so forth, air pollution. Anyway, let's say that we use this tool and we've learned that, yeah, we're interested in a 1-bedroom in Chelsea, but we're also interested in a 2-bedroom on the Upper East Side because you can get that for about the same price, or maybe a studio in Tribeca. This is a very typical example. People are willing to compromise. And in case you're in a situation like that, it will benefit you to go to the newsfeed section. The newsfeed allows you to set up multiple searches based on the specific parameters that you may have. And once you set up the searches, what I've set up so far is, like we talked about, 1-bedroom in Chelsea, 2-bedroom on the Upper East Side, or a studio in Tribeca. And then the feed works as expected. You get continuously updated feed with the apartments that you're interested in. And this is the first step towards distilling this huge amount of data into something that's more interesting to you and more relatable and more manageable. And over time, you'll look at it and you will love some of the apartments. And that makes you want to save them. And that leads us to the compare section. This compare section shows you the apartments that you've saved. And it is totally customizable, meaning that I've set up 10 parameters that are deal breakers to me. And so based on these 10 parameters, I get a custom view of this apartment with these parameters, which allows me to compare directly across apartments to whatever is a deal breaker to me. So you can set up 1 or 10 or whatever. And let's say you love one of these apartments and you want to go see it. So that was the first step of the 3 services. So the next step is set up appointments to view the place. It's very simple. If you want to see a place, all you would do is you get a 7-day calendar, you pick the time slots where you can see the place, and you say set up. That's it. You get a notification once the setup has been complete. Behind the scenes, what happens is a mechanical Turk goes in and sets up the appointment with the landlords. And so now you're like, job done, right? You found an apartment yourself and you went and saw it and it looks great. Wrong. Now the hard part begins. The hardest part of the whole thing is to actually get approved. And why is that? Well, it's partly because all these different property managers, they have different requirements in terms of what are the documents they want to see. They also have very different opinions on what counts as income. Some people or some property managers, they count student debt and so forth, or not student debt, student loans as income, some don't. And if you mess up any of this, if you fail to submit the required documents, even if you have a perfectly good application at your first, they're going to toss you. So just be aware of that. But that's why Simply Hunt is here. For the last step is to help you set up your application. This is sort of just a screenshot of some of the things that are going to be that the Simply Hunt is going to help you with. The first thing being credit rating. We encourage you to proactively put in your credit rating, and that is because if you have a weak application but you have a strong credit rating, your application is highly likely to go from the no pile to the maybe pile. You have to remember that this whether you get approved or not is like an assessment. So they take a lot of things into account. So you want to make it as strong as possible. The next thing you want to look at is your status. Based on your status, there's a different set of minimum required documents. And that's very important that you have all these. And Simply Hunt helps you, depending on what your status is, to submit the right documents. And we have your income. Your income is another beast. Because depending on your income, there are different sets of required documents, and it's not really stated anywhere. So for instance, if you have an internship, it's 3 months pay stubs. If you have a permanent job, it's 6. If you do freelance, it's 1 to 3 years of pay stubs. And then the last thing, to really make your application strong, you connect it to Mint and LinkedIn. LinkedIn will provide employment history, and Mint will provide spending habits. If you want to do that. But it will make it sronger if you have a good economy. And that's my suggestion, or that's my solution to solving these three services. Before we finish, I have one more thing I want to talk about, which is the big data tool that I've built. Just give me 1 second here. I'm not going to go into too much detail simply because it is very, very technical. But building a tool capable of collecting thousands of apartments from hundreds of property managers each day was the biggest programmatically challenge I've ever had. And so I created 3 prototypes before I found a scalable solution. The first attempt was I created a Google Chrome extension that allowed me to set up scraping instructions for individual sites manually. It worked fine on small sites, but it failed on the bigger sites. Next prototype, I created a genetic algorithm that was able to detect apartments and their properties on any given site based on a rating system. This worked perfectly on smaller sites, but on bigger sites where there was invalid HTML, it choked. So lastly, I found a service, yay, called Masenda that, much like my extension, allows me to manually sort of point and click in a GUI to set up scrapers for these individual sites. So that's what I ended up doing. And the last thing I want to talk about is just really fast, or like an overview of how this actually works, this Masenda. So the heart of the whole thing, you see it here, is the scraper. This is Masenda. Every single night, it goes to over 70 property management websites and fetches all the available apartments. Then it takes this huge chunk of available apartments and sends it through my validator. My validator has two outputs. It's either outputting invalid apartments or valid apartments. The invalids go directly to my error reporting tool, so I know that if something's not right. And the valid apartments, they are geocoded so that they get latitude and longitude. I put a street view photo on them too, or attach that to them, and then I put it in the database. And that step from validation and down here, that happens 2,000 times a day, so that's like 60,000 times a month. So there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes, and it's all asynchronous, if anybody. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, and that's my back end. This is my my website. This is my thesis. My name is Jonas. I hope you enjoyed it.
So when does it come out?
I get some money or somebody to help me develop it. It turns out it's a long process. Like if I had to change something, maybe I would probably not have built that big tool because it's so complex, it's crazy, and so that took a lot of the time, and still does to perfect it and to set up more apartments. Right now I have like 2,000, which is not too many, but it's okay, you know. So if somebody's interested, then feel free to contact me.
I have a question. One question is when the management company puts an apartment up, they don't. Are they independent of the brokers?
Yes.
Or do they sign with the broker that you're the one? Because like when you buy a house, there's just
It depends. Like if you have a co-op and if you own an apartment and you want to get a lease, you usually just choose one broker and then you connect it to him, so to speak. But what happens with the property management? All they do is they have a website, and that's what they update. They just put them out there. They put it out several times a day. So I'm just fetching that. So I'm not even collaborating with them.
And so the broker is fetching the same data.
Yeah, the exact same thing.
And Jonas, do they have APIs or are you scraping
No.
the HTML?
There's no APIs. There's a lot of terrible websites that I've been scraping.
Actually, I wanted to ask about that. Do you anticipate running afoul of any, terms of service agreements with some of the websites for which you're scraping data? And if so, how do you plan to?
Would that be because I am visiting this, generating traffic, or why would?
I don't know.
I don't intend to do anything because their websites are in public domain, and most, if not all, are just interested in getting their apartments out. And so whatever it takes, really. So they, yeah.
How do you get the data like air quality based on the system?
The Zoom one. So it's like something like Open Data New York City. And they have like air quality, and they have all of these things, and they have like bike accident, and they have it per street corner. So you get all these data, all these environmental data you can sort of, yeah. It's called data-driven apartment searching, and if you go to Reddit New York City, it's starting to become popular. So that's like the subsite for itself too.
Why do you think no one has made this before? Like, it just seems like, that,
I know, it's the one question. No, it's a good question. Everybody asks the same question, because at least when I put it out like this, it seems pretty straightforward, right? But yeah, I don't know. Like some people, if you know, what is it called? Lovely. Lovely is an app where like people are trying to make these one-stop apps, but they're doing it with different things. Like Lovely helps you pay your rent and helps you connect the broker. But it's like, I mean, like, so you want to create a one-stop app where you help them with the right things.
Did you find an apartment for yourself?
Yes, that's how it all started. It started with me finding an apartment, because I have a thing for apartments. I have this amazing one in Denmark that I got. Like, there's a 30-year waiting period, and I knew the rules, and so I got it in like 2 years. And so I have a thing for that, and when I got here, and I saw I had to pay the average. You should know this. The average on Manhattan, the average apartment, you usually pay 15% of the annual, of the monthly rent in fees, and that averages to $5,500 in Manhattan. And I think that's a lot for data that's publicly available. Yeah, they help you with the other services, which is why they're still there, but the question is, does that justify almost 6,000?
Was building this easier than finding an apartment?
Was it easier than finding an apartment? It was no. Easy. Finding an apartment was a lot easier. Even though right now there are some sites that does a little bit, like you know New York City Bits, and there are others, and there are tricks I can help you if you want to, where you can use Urban Compass but don't pay. There's ways to get around it, but yeah. That's it.